At least reading it while people are joining.
Yep, and I've just started the recorder, so we're all set.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. So there's new language. I got the new letter, Sharon. Thank you. The introductory language for virtual public meeting chairs as of February 3rd, 2021. Committee Commission Chair language. Pursuant to recently adopted amendments to the Illinois Open Meetings Act included in Public Act 101-0640, public bodies may in certain circumstances hold entirely virtual public meetings without a quorum physically present in any one location. On March 17, 2020, Village President Lawrence R. Levin issued a declaration of emergency pursuant to the authority granted by the Village Code, the Illinois Municipal Code, and the Illinois Emergency Management Agency Act to address the health threat posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. On June 15, 2020, President Levin executed a written determination that given the ongoing emergency associated with the COVID-19 pandemic, in-person meetings of the Board of Trustees are not practical or prudent. On January 8, 2021, Governor Pritzker issued his most recent disaster proclamation and executive order 2021-01 that
If one of my earbuds isn't working, oh, sorry.
that declared in-person attendance at public meetings of more than 10 people at the regular public meeting location to be infeasible in accordance with the Open Meetings Act as amended by Public Act 101-0640. In accordance with the governor's disaster proclamation, Village President Levin's declaration of emergency and President Levin's determination regarding meetings of the Board of Trustees, Village President Levin has also determined that in-person meetings of the Community Relations Forum are not practical or prudent at this time and until further notice. Accordingly, this meeting of the Community Relations Forum is being conducted virtually with members participating through the Zoom webinar platform. Assistant Village Manager Sharon Tanner is in the conference room as required by the Open Meetings Act. Whew. I can breathe now. Before we just call to order and everything, I just wanted to say I have a hard stop at 6, and I know Reverend Gary has said he needs to leave at 5:40. So we're going to try to get through our agenda as efficiently as possible. Can we call the meeting to order? May I please have a roll call, Sharon?
Chairperson Dipty Clark.
Here.
Member Marty Alisco. Member Margot Flanagan.
Here.
Member Reverend Dwayne Gary.
Here.
Member Anise Moses.
Here.
Member Amy Mizell. Member Gary Rubin.
Here.
Member Hillary Scott.
Here.
Member Maureen Valvasori.
Here.
And Member Bob Young.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. The first item on the agenda is consideration of the January 13th meetings. Sorry, was it 13th? January 13 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Great, can I have a roll call, please?
Okay, Chairperson Clark.
Yes.
Member Flanagan.
Yes.
Member Gary. Reverend
Yes.
Gary, that is.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Member Moses.
Yes.
Member Rubin.
Yes.
Member Scott.
Yes.
Member Valvasori.
Yes.
And Member Young.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
Great. So at this time, is there a member of the public who can make a comment on something that is not on the agenda? I will ask Sharon to read any public comments that were submitted prior to the meeting. And after that, I will ask if any members of the public would like to comment on something that is not on the agenda. If you would like to make a comment about something that is listed on the agenda, please hold your comment until that time. If a member of the public would like to make a comment now on something that is not on the agenda, please press the raise hand button on your computer if you're joining the meeting online, or *9 if you're joining by phone. The Village's public comment rules limit comments to 3 minutes. Sharon, were there any comments submitted?
No comments were submitted. I do not see any hands raised either.
Okay. All right, great. Then we can move forward in our to our agenda. I have some paper here. I want to move out of the way. And I'm going to do this because this is what I feel comfortable doing. So I hope you guys don't mind. So I have this because today is a big time crunch. So I'm going to ask Sharon to please keep time, Sharon. And if you can, as we near our time, if you can give like a 2-minute warning so that we can wrap up the agenda item and move on to the next one. Would you be okay with doing that, Sharon?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Great. So the first thing on the agenda is our village board meeting for 2/18. So I was thinking we can take about 15 minutes to talk about this. So Sharon, if you don't mind, did I say 15 or did I say 15?
You wrote
Yeah.
15 on there.
Okay, if you don't mind just keeping some time, I just wanted to, this is not news to you because I know you all have seen Sharon's email already, but it is really exciting that the village board has invited us, the forum, to their next village board meeting, which is on the 18th of February. It's a Thursday. It's at 5:30 p.m. We are asked to present what we're doing, ask questions, have an open dialogue with the village board. And I think that's a really good step. I'm really excited about that. So in keeping in line with that meeting, and I know Sharon has shared some of the ideas on how we would like the agenda and the flow for the meeting. I just wanted to bring that up again here and just go through it because we are quite a few members and I hope that everyone can attend. It would be really nice to have a little structure to that meeting. So the thought process initially was we have a short presentation. A deck would be great. We have it on the agenda to introduce each of the forum members, have our mission and goals listed as we have come up with them, and they are documented. Give a high level update of, in general, what the forum has been doing and how we are moving forward since May, June timeframe, and give our 3 initiatives updates. So I would like each of the subcommittees to appoint a person to provide, take about 5 minutes to really give a good solid update on what that initiative is, what it means to the community, how it is going to tie into the DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusion topic that the forum is so closely working towards. So I would ask all of you guys to take that time to really lay it out. We have some time before the 18th to work on this. So, take the time with your subcommittees, work on something so that this is our opportunity to really market the forum as to what we have been doing. So, the great work that we have done so far, we should show. If we have any future initiatives, we can put those in, but as of now, I don't really think of any. One of the things that I'd like to do is engage in some question answers where we address, also not just give the opportunity for the board to ask us questions, but we go with questions to the board. So I would really like to have those very concise. I would say about 3 or 4 questions that we can come up with as a forum, and maybe we appoint a forum member to be the facilitator for those questions so that it still stays within our structure of the presentation. And then the last thing I'd like to do is work on a deck, and Hillary has already offered to help, and I can put together something shared with Hillary. If we can get a couple more people to put their final touches, would like to provide input, please volunteer. This is your chance.
Gary, may I ask you a question?
I'm sorry, are you asking me?
No, I was asking Gary. Gary,
Sure.
what has the village board discussed over the months about the community relations forum?
Frankly, other than hearing very brief reports, as we do from all of the members and their, to the committees that they are part of, there has not been a lot of discussion in the last few months about the forum per se. I think that's one of the reasons why they want this opportunity to have a presentation, a more fulsome discussion.
And has there been any feedback about the village president's excellent statement that we asked him to consider?
I can respond to that. Oh, sorry, Gary, go ahead.
No, please go. You go right ahead. You would probably know more about the feedback than I would, other than our feedback to him about his statements,
Right.
which had been, of course, that we liked them. To put it in a nutshell, we have a short meeting here. Sharon, please go ahead.
Sure. We received, again, some feedback from the forum members, and thank you very much for that. We didn't receive a great lot of community feedback one way or another. That's not atypical, though, of other messages that we've put out on related topics or others. I think it's just more indicative of a typical engagement pattern that we see where people read the information, consume it. They might give us a like on Facebook or social media. That's typically about the level of engagement that we see.
All right, so we'll come back to your Bob, because I do want to talk about the next steps from that letter, but right now I want to focus on the village board meeting. So can we have a couple more volunteers to help out with the deck? It'll be shared with everybody at the end. Everyone will have an opportunity to provide feedback, but I would like a couple of active members who can help put that together.
Just to clarify, Dipti, I'm happy to help as we discussed, but you also mentioned that the different committees, like your concept, I think, was that the different committees would provide sort of their own page of the deck. So it seems to me every committee should have somebody volunteering to do at least that page. Yes?
Oh, I would think that if you guys are going to work on your piece of, speaking about the committee and the work the committee is doing, definitely you could have a page. We can format it to match the rest of the pages, not a problem. But yes, so thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely.
For Margot and Amy and I, between the three of us, we will figure out who is going to make that page and send it on to you.
That sounds good. The other thing I was also thinking is in terms of next steps, if there was anything specific that we wanted to bring up with the village board, whether we ask them where they see the forum going or what kind of initiatives they see the forum being engaged in our community, or what we see the village helping us move forward in the community. I'm a little skeptical about stuff like that in a large meeting like that, to bring up, but I'm going to lay it out here just to get feedback from all of you. I don't know the village board. I've never met them, never been in front of them, so I wouldn't know if this would be appropriate. I can see Gary smiling.
I think it's perfectly appropriate. I think after the presentations of the information by the various forum members, the committee, the general presentation, the specific committee presentations, that as part of the discussion, when you open it up to discussion generally, that one of the things that we as the forum are interested in are the thoughts of board members and Larry as to how they see the role of the forum and how they see the board and the forum, working together. I think that's perfectly reasonable and fine, and I'm sure people would probably go there anyway, but I think bringing it up on top is perfectly appropriate.
Okay, excellent. Any other comments? Anybody else has comments? So before we move on to the next item, are we good with this structure for our presentation? Anybody have other things they'd like to add? Any other specifics we might have missed? Anything that, doesn't gel with how we should be presenting? I mean, this is just a skeleton that I just laid out.
A logistics comment that I'll make is that we, as a matter of routine, include or develop a board meeting packet that gets distributed to our board the Friday before the board meeting. There's always a memo introducing each agenda item. So I will put something together tracking with what Dipti outlined for the overview of it. I will circulate it to the forum in advance for you to take a look at. I'll ask you to send me any comments that you have individually. And I'll ask for comments back by a certain date in order to help us meet our date to finalize and disseminate that packet. That'll be middle part of next week that I'll need any thoughts back on that memo. It'll be fairly brief, but we'll touch on all the components that Dipti outlined. And then for the folks who are assembling the presentation deck, just let me know who's kind of putting the final touches on it. And then you can, if you want to send it to me, I can be sure I have a copy at the ready just in case we run into a technological glitch or something during the actual meeting.
Oh yeah, thank you. Actually, if you want to share your screen with it, that would be perfect, Sharon.
Sure.
I would also ask your help if you could share that with the forum members before it's finalized just one more time, and then we can finalize it.
The deck or the memo?
The deck. So I can send you, once I gather everyone's detail, and then if you could share that
Sure.
with everyone, just like you would share any other email with all the members of the forum. And then we can, get an A-OK, that's great, let's move forward, and then you can finalize it.
Sounds good.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
One quick comment, Sharon, in the materials for the board with regard to the forum, one exhibit or addendum or something that you might want to put in that packet might be the ordinance itself.
Sure.
So that
Great.
if anybody wanted to
I'll do that.
refer to it, during discussions, it's there.
Great idea. I'll be sure to do that. Thank you.
When will we need to have our page for the deck submitted? Is there a date, a specific date?
I can work backward, at least as far as the meeting timeframe. We have a little bit more time to finalize a deck. I would suggest that we aim to have it finalized no later than Tuesday, the 16th. That's not as critical of a timeline as our packet publication, since we don't publish any PowerPoints typically in advance. We use them to help facilitate the discussion during the meeting itself. So we've got a little bit more time on that than the memo.
So 16th, you said, Sharon?
Yes, I'd like to aim to have a final version kind of set by the 16th. That way, if there's anything we think of at the very last minute, that gives us another kind of day and a half or so as a buffer, and we'll be in good shape.
So 16th is about 2 weeks from now, just a day less than 2 weeks. So in order to get it finalized, I would say if by Friday the 12th, everyone can send me their detail, I could put it together, send it to Sharon, gives her a couple of days to share it with the rest of the forum members to just finalize A-OK. That way by 16th we have it. Does that sound good, Sharon? Is that going to work for you?
That's fine.
Okay,
And also just FYI, right up about at the 15-minute mark.
perfect. Well, I think we've covered most everything that we could on this topic, unless there are anything else, any other ideas people want to bring up?
I had a quick question. We had talked briefly, I don't know if it was only in our subcommittee or if we had talked about this as a larger group, I can't remember, about the forum members putting together a very short, very brief, not where you got your PhD or any of that stuff, but just a bio. And I wonder if that's something that we should have together by then also, or if that was just something that was like a subcommittee thing, just so that the people on the board can know a little bit about who we are.
Yeah, sure, Anise. We are going to include that as part of the introduction. So it doesn't have to be from your subcommittee. I can just reach out to everyone to provide, like, I can give like 2 or 3 topics, and then we can just have a small introduction for every person. And I was going to even ask for photographs, so we can put everyone's photo next to it, so that if we're walking around in the village, the board sees us and they recognize us. Does that answer your question? Okay, great. Margot, are you going to say something? Because you're on mute. Okay, great. Well, I think we have a plan for our village board meeting. I hope it's really as efficient and productive as I hope it's going to be. So if there are no other questions or anything, let's move on to the next item that I had on the agenda, which is an initiative. So I'd like to, Sharon, if you don't mind, 10 minutes for this one, because this is just revisiting. So for the purpose of the new members of the forum, I just want to make sure I bring it up again. But a few months ago, and I want to say maybe in the June, July timeframe, when Gary Rubin had joined, I had joined, we had brought up this idea of having a town hall series where we have a panelist and panel discussion. We, as the forum, facilitated, and I know at that time it didn't go anywhere, but I just wanted to let everyone know that for our subcommittee, with the coffee with the forum idea, when Bob and Reverend Gary and I had talked about it, we still struggled to figure out what to do with it. Where are we going to go with it? How are we going to make the most of that idea? So we decided to scrap it and have a different idea, which would be this town hall series. This initiative would be, and Gary Rubin, you're part of that committee too, so don't feel left out. since you were like our original participant in the beginning with that. So the idea now, I think, has come together more solid because we have relationships with the organizations in Glencoe. We have been working closely with them. Some of us even have had meetings and know a lot more about what they're doing. So the initiative is to have a series, like I said, but like for the first one, we identify 4 organizations. It could be, a religious organization, a business, and we ask them, we set a date, we ask them if they can attend. It's going to be a panel discussion, 4 members on the panel, very targeted question, very specific to Glencoe, very specific to our DEI initiative and how those organizations have their DEI initiatives. So we give them, obviously timed, but it would be cool if we can have breakout sessions. Those 4 panelists are in 4 breakout rooms with 2 of our forum members, with the audience. And I hope we can get a lot more audience having the organizations involved and, making use of their contacts, so that the discussion is more direct with the person in that breakout room. We come back as forum members, we debrief. I hope there are next steps that come out of it. Hoping that such discussions do lead to that, we will have next steps that come out of it. We have the same series, maybe a month, 4 weeks, 6 weeks down the line with another 4 set of organizations. And since we are already along the lines of reaching out to our organizations, this would be, I think, a good thing to revisit. So that would be the third subcommittee, and we would like to include that as part of our village board meeting when we talk about our subcommittees and what initiatives we have. This would be one of the initiatives we would want to talk about. It would be brief if, because the time is short, but it would definitely be an action item for our forum. It's an event that our forum is doing directly, and not only indirectly participating through some of the other organizations. So I'm very excited about it, about revisiting it again, because I know we've talked about it in the past, and I almost feel like it's coming to life now because we have a more clearer idea with these organizations. We work with them closer. So questions, comments, all welcome.
I like the idea a lot, but I think DEI is maybe too vague. And I wonder if we need to be a little more specific about the topics and therefore who we choose to speak. Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, we are playing around with that idea of do we want to have specific targeted questions to the specific panelist, or do we start with the same question for every panelist so we understand what their organizations are doing and coming from? So we have toyed around with that idea a little bit. We've talked about that, and so maybe Maureen, as we move forward with these town hall series and get more comfortable with the people and understand more about them, we could have more targeted and direct questions. I almost feel like in the beginning, especially our first one, it would be more of them educating us about their direction in their organizations in Glencoe with the community, how it relates, So that was kind of the thought process behind having the initial one as just one question that they can all relate to.
I really like the idea. I think it seems, just as you said, to be a natural outgrowth of what you all were describing with Coffee with the Forum. I agree with Maureen that I think it's important that we be really targeted. I think we want to be thoughtful about the combinations of people on the panel, and then, address questions that specifically, I have one mind where if you just ask the same questions to everyone, it would be kind of interesting to see how it played out over the course of a series. On the other hand, I think it might be a better use of people's time if you have Catherine Lang sitting up there as the superintendent of our schools, let's ask her questions specific to how whatever term of art we use, DEI, plays out in Glencoe Public Schools, what they're doing, what they hope to do, what they've experienced as in ways of pushback or however you guys want to formulate.
Actually, I mean, that is a valid point. I mean, we were hoping the breakout rooms would help with that, but then that doesn't have the whole community, the whole attendance, right? I mean, breakout rooms has only certain percentage of each room has only a few of the attendees. So, all right, that's a good thought. Couple of good comments we're going to take back to our subcommittee as we try to hash out the details and work this out. So, I've made a note of it. We're going to take that back and we'll discuss that. So that's great. Thank you, both of you. Any other questions, comments, anything like, you guys want to add? Okay. Wow. All right, so stay tuned for that. So that'll be included as our third initiative instead of coffee with the forum. So Sharon, we're not doing coffee with the forum anymore after much thought. All right, how are we doing on time?
Is 5:32.
Okay, so the next thing I had on the agenda was with regards to our last meeting. I just want to take 5 minutes on this. So Sharon, please feel free to just knock if we're going over. But in regards to our last meeting, when we talked extensively about having a statement from our village going out and, we achieved it. President Larry Levin actually put out a really nice statement. It had everybody, all the village employees, including public safety, in that message. And subsequent to that, Sharon actually put together this was like as a follow-up from Anise and Maureen, what you guys had drafted, but it was a little bit concise, which I kind of like because then it puts the focus on the main letter that Larry sent out. And so that was also, I think it's final, right, Sharon? The little blurb you wrote that we can actually work with our organizations on.
Yeah, if the group is comfortable with that, you're more than welcome. It was offered as a suggestion.
Yeah, no, I was okay with it. And I think did you share it with everyone, right? Everyone has had a chance to read it?
Yes, I sent it to the group. I think some folks may have started forwarding President Levin's statement to the community organizations that they connected with. I know I saw that Bob had done so. Thank you, Bob. So I think that's where that sits.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So that's actually where I was getting to is as next steps to that, since we have it all now already posted, people have had a chance to digest it, read it. If we should be reaching out to our relationships within these organizations with a little intro blurb that Sharon has put together and emphasize if they can share Larry's statement with everyone, ask everyone to sign the pledge, just kind of see if that takes it further. And I know, Maureen, that you had brought that up as a next step. So I'm thinking that I think we're ready to do that now that the letter's published. We have what we need. Would you guys be comfortable doing that?
I already did. I did as soon as Sharon sent the statement.
So what kind of response did you get? Did you get any kind of response? Was there anything that came out of it?
Well, I've been in touch with Andy Kim at the library, and he had already shared the statement.
Oh,
I mean, he had already done everything I had asked him to do. So he's great. And he's looking forward to working with us in the future.
So what do we see coming out of this as the further next step? Like now that it's being shared with more constituents, part of these organizations, what is next for us? I mean, I just want to see if there's an action item that comes out of that for us to then, have another initiative or a program or some sort of another a community week and an awareness week or something like that, just to kind of keep the momentum going. It's a really quiet crowd today. I mean, I would like everyone to give it a thought because, we don't want it to just end there, it's shared, then what?
I think that the general tenor of the forum's activities going forward, whether it's the individual meetings and presentations or with other organizations, or it's our own sponsored town hall, is going to address that. I don't see that we need something else, especially anything else specifically tied to the most recent events at the Capitol. I just think our work is still very much in need to be done, and we'll do it personally.
Yeah, I would agree with Gary. I think that it's, what I would say is that it's great that we've had sort of quiet news cycle since then. However, with that being said, like it's still, it's long in the tooth, right? It's been like 6 weeks or close. I guess it's only been a month, but I'd rather focus on the things we're going to do, like your town hall series, than, you know, kind of revisiting this piece about the Capitol. Just me.
So if it's not like so specific to the event that happened at the Capitol, but more of the message that is in the letter of, you know, community building and, you know, respecting each other and, you know, all of that. I mean, I'm thinking if the same organizations that are helping us forward this letter can then, after maybe 6 weeks, have some sort of like, if we can ask them for another message that's, I mean, like, hey, don't forget about it. Like, it's not like one and done. Like, don't forget about it. We're still a community. We still have to look out for each other, and we're still working towards equity in our community, you know? So that's kind of where I was going, not with the Capitol or what happened there, but really the letter itself, the message in there about our community building.
I think, I think what we need, my opinion is we need to be doing some marketing. Like, I think still a lot of people don't know who we are. And fortunately or unfortunately, the work we're doing is really important, but it's being sort of highlighted and put in a more sort of desperate mode at the moment. Although I think, we all joined this group well before like the Capitol stuff was going on. We're aware that there are things in our society that are ails, and that are people are hurting, and that we want to make a difference. So I think one of the things that would be helpful is if we just really started letting people know that we're here. And I had sent an email unfairly right before the meeting to Sharon. Just one of the things we had talked about briefly was, like, do we have a logo? Like, is there a way that we can have visual recognition when our names or our mission is on something, where they see this logo and they're like, oh, that's the forum, or they're like, what is this? And they look at it. I think that the more people that know we're doing the mission work that we're doing, the more people I would hope would feel supported and would feel a connection to the community, knowing that these efforts were being made. I'm just not sure, like the caller who called in, like, I'm just not sure that people really know what we're doing. And it's great for someone to attend a workshop that we're doing, but they probably found out about it in some kind of formal way. But how can we more informally just sort of get out into the community and get our message and our mission?
Mhm. So that brings me actually to my next item on the agenda. So Anise, you actually spoke my mind. And I know that I've had this conversation on the side with a couple of other forum members, but one of the things that we wanted to do, Margot, just give me a minute, I'll come back to you. One of the things we wanted to do is see if one of our forum members would like to volunteer to be like our social media person. Put all that out there. So when we're going to have, for example, in our next meeting, we have the sustainability task force coming in, put that information out there so that more people are aware, and maybe help the village with. So one of the things Sharon and I have had a conversation about many, many times since the time I came on board was, like, if you go to the village site, you really don't know much about the forum, let alone the forum members and who the faces of the people there or anything. I mean, it's not updated. And I know it takes time, but maybe a couple, it doesn't have to be one, it could be a couple. But I mean, some dedicated social media presence would definitely help in that sense. So, I mean, Anis, do you want to take that up? Be our marketer?
Well, the problem with me is that I've gotten off almost all of social media, and I am not like a technological person. I'm certainly happy to like write things or type things, but I'm not super tech savvy.
I can jump in. I can jump in and maybe try to help this aspect of the conversation, and I'll be mindful of time. It's about 20 of, and I know we still had 2 other subcommittees. We'd asked the group to do subcommittee updates. The village has a social media presence. Typically with our boards and commissions like the forum, if there is information that they want to share, we do that via the village's social media. So if a member of the forum wanted to help with writing draft content, that I'm happy to take that and build it into our more routine communications. It's a way to do it without reinventing the wheel. As a matter of kind of process, our other boards and commissions do not have a standalone social media page. We do try to aggregate everything through the village's social presence.
But we could do it as a personal, on a personal account, right? Like if I get on Nextdoor and I just say, oh, the Community Relations Forum is having a meeting on the 17th. We're going to have, the Sustainability Task Force come and they're going to be presenting. Here's the, link to the village website where you can find the Zoom link and all of that. I mean, that's allowed, right?
Generally, yes, but let's maybe talk another time about where there might be just processes that we need to be mindful of with regards to if you're speaking as yourself or if you're speaking as the chair of the forum, we have a responsibility to archive our social media posts that are made by the village or are made kind of on behalf of village business so that we comply with record retention requirements. I don't want to bore the group to tears with that right now, but we could talk perhaps offline about kind of where the lines are between what you share as an individual versus the forum proper sharing something or the village sharing something.
Can we add it to our agenda for the next meeting?
Sure.
I think that would be a good point to add, just, marketing tools or something like that, or not specific to social media, but that would be helpful. Thanks, Sharon. Sorry, Margot. Go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to ask if we could go back to the topic before, and I realized we hit our 5-minute mark, but the welcoming pledge that is mentioned both in President Levine's statement as well as in Sharon's sort of elevator talk it has artwork. It is eye-catching. It is a statement that's been approved and shared with the village. And at one time, and I think we could probably recreate it, we had these giant boards with pens and people could actually literally sign the pledge in person. And if we wanted to connect with our committees, our organizations, asking them to display the pledge and have people sign it, we could also give them some smaller ones that could be posted in their elevators or hallways or bulletin boards. If we just get our pledge out there, I'm not as concerned about people knowing who the Community Relations Forum is and who we are, which is helpful if they want to address us, and we could put our names and contact information on there. But I'm more interested in people being aware that this is a village position, not just a committee position. And I think that our welcoming and inclusivity pledge is a great way of doing what we've already started. People may even recognize it from the past times we've had it displayed around town. So I just thought it might be a time-saving and cost-cutting way of getting that message out.
I like that. We have to work out logistics with Sharon again.
Happy to help.
Thank you. All right, the next, so can we move on? I know I'm just trying to be conscious of the time, and I know Reverend Gary has to leave soon and he's driving, I think. Are you still driving, Reverend Gary? Okay.
No, I have actually made it to where I am. I'm listening into the meeting.
Okay. I have a couple of other things I wanted to bring up. We have the next things coming up is on our 217 meeting. We've got the Sustainability Task Force coming and presenting to us specifically about the Eco District. And I think that they've asked that the Plan Commission Chair, Bruce, Sharon, help me with the last name.
Bruce Huvard.
I'm sorry, what?
Bruce Huvard.
Yes, Huvard. They have asked that he also be able to attend. So I've actually just exchanged emails and we have not gotten to any point, but when we do, Sharon, I'll send you the names and the email addresses of all the people who are planning to present and attend the meeting. So if you would be okay to send out the Zoom information and stuff like that to them.
Certainly.
Thank you. And then we were thinking like coming up in March for our meeting, the second meeting in March, who we could invite and somebody specific to Glencoe who can speak to maybe the history of Glencoe or, has done extensive research, and it doesn't have to be a big, story. It could be very targeted, maybe one or two very specific stories that actually made an impact and changed some lives here. So there are a couple of people I did reach out to, Karen from the Historic Society, to see if she would be interested. She has to get back after talking to her board. And then Hillary has someone in mind who actually was raised in Glencoe, and she's done extensive research on, I don't know if you guys know Wendy Williams. This is Wendy Williams' daughter, and she spoke very well at one of the other MLK Zoom meetings that the Heroes had held, and she's done a lot of research. And if we can maybe have her speak about her research on specifics that have happened in Glencoe and how they've changed lives and how it's impacting even today's community, I think that would be really helpful. So hoping to get a positive response from either one of them, and keep those ideas coming if you haven't already, who you would like to invite, and for these meetings that we're having every month, the second part of the month. Because I think that's really going to keep momentum, and we can get more participation. People can actually come and learn something. So that was our coming up series. And then we have 10 minutes. And Anissa wanted to do a little exercise with the forum, but we have 10 minutes. And how long does it take to we have to ask about public comments, don't we, Sharon?
Why don't we do it next time?
Let's do it next time. If that's okay with you, Anise, let's do it next time. It's a little activity she wanted to do. I don't want to rush it through today, but it's an activity that I think, I really don't know much about it, but Anise says she's going to facilitate and get it all in order. So I'm just going with the flow. So let's do it in the next meeting because I don't want to rush it. We need to have like, and Amy's not here and Reverend Gary has to drop. So maybe we'll add it to the agenda for next meeting, Sharon, and give like 15 minutes. Is that good time? Anise, 15 minutes? That's good. Okay, that's good. All right, now that is what I had on the agenda. Are there any other items that
Excuse
you
me,
guys
Dipti?
would like to? Yeah.
We had on the agenda the subcommittee updates. Did you want to get a briefing?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, I'm so sorry. Yes, we do want the other two subcommittees to update. Who'd like to go first? All right, Hillary, Margot, you guys go first.
Margot, I can just basically read our emails.
Okay.
So Amy and Margot and I continue to sort of reach out to other communities doing this sort of work, looking at the things that worked for them, the things that have been challenges for them. And so in along those lines, Amy shared President Rubin's statement. So this is sort of a continuation of the other. She shared President Rubin's statement.
I mean.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Who is
okay?
Who is Larry Rubin? she like morphed, you guys.
You're thinking about the future.
This is what happens when you're like just straight reading the text. It is President Levin, forgive me. Sorry. She shared a message with the leader.
You know, the old joke goes, we're both insulted.
It wasn't even my mistake. So she shared his message with the leadership of the Botanic Garden. That's the organization that she's been in closest contact with. And she's going to follow up with them on Monday. And then Margot spoke with the Historical Society, and they have been working on researching the topics we are concerned with, but they haven't finished the research. And I think like everything with COVID, they're a bit bogged down. So that is just in progress as well. I have been trading scheduling emails with Lisa Altenburn, who runs the Evanston Community Foundation and has done a lot of work in, Evanston is a very different community from ours, but I think in some ways they're quite a bit further along in this work. And so she was going to share some of her sort of lessons learned from that experience as well. And along those same lines, I have been communicating with Mr. Jacoby, who is the former president of the village of Wilmette, and someone who was deeply involved in the founding of their Human Relations Forum, which is now being reconstituted after sort of a quiet period. And he's also quite knowledgeable about the history of racism on the North Shore, and thought he would be a great person to talk to about what we're trying to accomplish moving forward. That's us.
The Winnetka Historical Society has available online extensive programming about civil rights on the North Shore. I discussed that with Karen Edelson. I've had a number of conversations with her. She said that the Glencoe Historical Society is not in the position now to address that issue. It's doing a deep dive, or her words, on their files.
I think that's consistent with what Margot said, or I just probably didn't communicate it very well. But in fairness, it's not as much. Yes, I think looking at the history of racism on the North Shore is very important, but this is also a lot about, as you've broached these topics with your community, what has been your experience, and how have you, where has your success and where have your shortcomings been in moving these DEI initiatives forward within your communities? So if you think that she would be useful in addressing something like that, I would be happy to reach out.
You mean to Karen?
To the Winnetka Historical Society.
Oh, yeah, they have tons of stuff and we ought to make use of it.
Great. Awesome. I'll add it to the list. Thank you.
No, also, I think I shared with a number of people that when I posted President Levin's statement on growing up in Glencoe, it got, from my perspective, an unusual number of hits. There were over 50 hits on that posting. I also posted an invitation for people to join tonight's meeting, but those are some good names. You know Nell Minow? Her father was Newton Minow. Grew up in Glencoe. That's a really good resource. I would reach out to those people for their experiences in Glencoe concerning the business of the forum.
Maybe I'll reach out to you first, Bob, and you can give me a list and then I'll follow up with those folks. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you can just go to that posting and it shows their names.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. All right. Thanks, guys. And then Anise, Maureen, Gary, Rubin.
Hi. I think ours is quick. I mean, we're just, you know, upon your guys, some of your guys' suggestions around having like a few standard questions and then having more sort of people can pick a certain number of more fun questions or maybe shorter answer questions. We're just working on the 3 questions that will be consistent. They might have to be tweaked a tiny little bit if there's, I mean, ideally, I would hope that all 3 of the questions could go for a business owner, somebody who lives here, or somebody who works here, but they might have to be slightly different. Sharon, I sent her an email today. Again, I'm a little late. Just to, she graciously offered to put us in touch. One of the things, you know, she pointed out that was very helpful that I didn't know, and maybe Gary and Maureen didn't, but it was news to me, you know, just in terms of when you're contacting people and you're going to want to interview them, that you want to, you know, go through the head of their whatever, right? So if you're going into a business, you want to talk to the manager before you just like bust out on the cake maker, you know, and kind of say, hey, we want to interview you, give context. So we'll put together some kind of, you know, elevator speech just to explain, you know, what we're doing, what the intent of the interviews are, and then also have something in hand that we can give them so they can look at the questions if they have any questions about the questions, and then just putting together a list of people to talk with. And so if any of you have people that, you know, you're really excited about that aren't people that are very well known in the community, that, you know, are business owners that live here or work here, you know, we would love their names. We're hoping that, you know, there will be some kind of a domino effect. You know, we go and interview and talk with this person, and then we say, is there anyone that you think would be great for us to know and interview that, you know, hasn't really had an opportunity to be known or shine like in a more global way in Glencoe, and hope that is helpful. But we're also open to suggestions. So please, you know, also one of the ideas we talked about was at the bottom of the interviews and in the end, kind of saying like, do you know someone in Glencoe that we should know? You know, send an email to, I think it's me, and work from there. So that's kind of where we're at. Can't hear you, Dipti.
Sorry, I was on mute. I said, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Good progress. Can't wait to see the first prototype. Did I cover everything, Sharon? Am I missing anything on the agenda?
I think you've got everything on the agenda, and for what it is worth, we have not gotten any additional public comments.
Oh, we have not. Okay. Do I still have to ask if anybody wants to make a public comment right now?
You can.
Would a member of the public like to comment on any of the agenda items?
Not seeing any hands raised.
Okay. And any other business that the forum would like to talk about? All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second,
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. I'm just going to go around my screen in the order that I see you. Chairperson Clark,
Here, yes.
Member Moses,
Here, yes.
sorry.
I think that's you, Maureen.
Maureen is frozen on my.
I could,
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, I couldn't tell if you were frozen, if my computer had locked up. Okay, Member Scott,
yes.
Member Flanagan,
Yes.
Member Young,
Yes.
Member Moses.
She already went.
Or, sorry, Member Rubin.
Yes.
I have the tiles moving on my screen. I apologize for that. I will stick to my usual order next time. Okay, then motion carries and we are adjourned.
Great. Well, thank you very much, everyone.
Have a good night.
Have a
Thanks,
good day,
have a
good
good night.
evening.
Take care.